To open the meeting at 7:09. We were in executive session discussing real properties. I'll address that in a second. Selectman Newhouse is not with us this evening. Transmitting of the Treasury warrants number 55-3, 3A, 4, 4A, 5, 5A, 6, and 6A. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion made by Selectman Somagli. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? Unanimous. I just want to say, Mr. Newhouse, as I stated, is not with us. He had a prior engagement this evening. That's why he's not here. The approval of the minutes, if you want to put this off until Selectman Newhouse is available, so therefore he has an opportunity for any input or participate in the vote, is that fine with the board? Why don't we, or you want to vote on it tonight? You could put it off to the next meeting?
Yeah, that's certainly fine with me.
Why don't we just, Jeff, why don't we just
Okay.
Put this off to the next meeting? That gives Selectman Newhouse an opportunity to give opinion on this. Before we go to the appointments, I just want to make I'd like to make a quick announcement. We were in executive session discussing real properties. I want to announce that the Board of Selectmen is close to an agreement to buy almost 8 acres of land from the St. Dorothy Parish, pending Archdiocese approval and pending a town meeting approval. So we've been in executive session discussing that. Now that we said that, 7 o'clock appointment. Colleen O'Brien, General Manager, and Brian Smith, Project Manager, Reading Municipal Light Department, Houghton Road temporary pole locations. Is the General Manager in here? You want to take a seat right over here? Please, thank you. Good evening. If you just want to give the board an update on
Yes,
what's...
I just want to introduce myself. I'm Colleen O'Brien, and I am, it's a privilege for me to serve you as the new general manager for Reading Municipal Light Plant. I've met with Mr. Hull, your town manager, and if you have any questions or concern, certainly give him a call, and I will do my best to expedite a response to whatever concerns that you might have. This is Brian Smith. He's one of our engineering project managers, and he's here to speak about Houghton Road.
Very good.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
For Houghton Road, on Friday, July 19th, after a no power call, the RMLD found a failed pad-mounted transformer. We discovered that the transformer had leaked oil. We replaced the transformer in the same location with a new unit to restore power to the customers. We then immediately implemented the RMLD spill response program to take the necessary corrective actions per the policy. In order to accomplish this without the use of generators and to prevent long customer outages, the department needed to install a temporary overhead distribution system on temporary poles to feed the affected customers. We worked with town officials to get this done and proceeded with the remediation as quickly as possible. This petition is to formalize the location of these temporary poles that have been placed as follows. Temp Pole 1, Houghton Road, was placed approximately 125 feet northeasterly from the existing streetlight pole 819/1, which is located approximately 405 feet southwesterly from the Kendall Road center line on the northwesterly side of Houghton Road. Temporary pole 2 was placed approximately 275 feet southwesterly from the existing streetlight pole 1, located approximately 130 feet southwesterly from the Kendall Road center line on the southeasterly side of Houghton Road. And temporary pole 3, Houghton Road, was placed approximately 125 feet southwesterly from the existing streetlight pole, located approximately 405 feet southwesterly from the Kendall Road center line on the northwesterly side of Houghton Road. As a note, the streetlight pole was also temporarily replaced with a regular pole, but that location already existed, so there was no petition required for that. Once the remediation has been completed, the existing underground system will be restored and the temporary poles will be removed. Note on that, we've been getting the test reports in and the cleanup looks good, so we should be able to start restoring the area shortly. We have also inspected the remaining 3 pad-mounted transformers on the street. 2 have been replaced and the 3rd will be replaced as we wrap up the work. They were all the same vintage. We are also conducting a system-wide inspection of similar pad-mounted transformers as part of our annual preventative maintenance program.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, you want to say anything? Because I know prior to this, the town manager gave me a call because there was a definite emergency need. We meet in summer session, and Jeff made a recommendation that we just go ahead and do it. Obviously, we're having the public hearing basically later. But we didn't want to put folks out have food spoil, people without air conditioning because there were heat waves. So we made the decision just to go ahead and do that and come to a future meeting. So we didn't want to disrupt the residents in that area, which I wouldn't want to be disrupted, wait for a selectmen's meeting a couple of weeks, and then have food spoilage and no AC, no nothing. So I think this was a good thing on the part of the town.
Yeah, I would say, echo your comments. We were notified promptly as soon as our RMLD became aware of this issue. There was a timeliness here. The existing utilities are underground, and that was what required this temporary pole arrangement so that power could, these homes could continue to access power. And it seemed reasonable to accommodate both RMLD and ultimately residents by allowing this exception to the typical requirements, and which would have meant, having the poll locations authorized by the board prior to. So I think it was an appropriate response.
Totally agreement. If there's any other questions input from the board at all? Yes, Judy.
First, just want to say thank you very much for being here tonight, and thank you for the update and for obviously addressing this in a timely manner. Certainly, I see all the detailed correspondence, and I appreciate the level of detail. Can you just comment on the communication to the residents that are impacted and how they're being notified as to how their properties may be impacted, whether it's relooming, seating, traffic, et cetera, please?
Certainly. Yeah, I've spoken with all of them. The two that, it's basically only two residents where the digging is occurring. Told them that we'd put everything back once we completed it and restore it to as it was. Yeah, and in the beginning of it, we sent a letter out to the residents informing them of the issue and the work that we were doing to correct it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
If I may, well, first and foremost, well, not foremost, but certainly first, Ms. O'Brien, I want to say congratulations or welcome, and thank you for being here tonight, and good luck in your post there. I feel like everything has been followed well. DEP's on the case. You're following this the Massachusetts contingency plan. There's an LSP on the site, or at least that you're working with. So, I'm comforted by all of that. Just a couple of questions. A little bit you addressed in the last phrase of your presentation, and it was about preventive maintenance. And so I guess the question I have related to that is, what caused this leakage? And as you go through the inspection process of other similar type of transformers, what are you looking for? And I don't want to get too technical here, but do you know what to look for? And can we feel confident that any kind of repeat of this failure can be mitigated by these inspections and the correction of them?
Yeah, this particular one, said it happened during that real hot week that we had, so it was probably made worse by that condition. But it could have been it was buried in the dirt a little bit. That might have been a cause of it, rusting out the case. So that's some of the stuff they'll be looking for during the inspections. They'll be looking for surface rust, if it's rusted through, if it's buried, if it's covered in trees. And they'll be opening them up, looking inside, making sure there is no signs of leaking.
Is there anything residents that may have one of these abutting or between their properties, if they look at something and say, oh, geez, mine has these conditions to the eye, should they call you, or do you rather prefer to sort of wait to get through the inspection process organically?
What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, the inspection program, I've accelerated it. I've only been there 3 weeks, but we certainly have manned up to extra crews, and Brian was helpful in putting out a form so that we could do a mass inspection.
Okay.
We've queried the computer for certain ages. Typically, for subdivision pads, you would do an inspection just to make sure that there's no leak, and to look at the pad as well. As you get into the larger transformers, our tech services will be doing more of a thermoscan, and that it becomes a little bit more complex. Certainly, if anybody ever saw not necessarily just a perspiration, but any type of an oil type thing, they could call in. We should be able to catch those, but, you know, we don't want residents to get nervous. With due diligence, though, we'll be looking at all of the transformers in all 4 towns as a priority, or probably over the next 6 months, we'll get to all of them.
Great.
So,
That's a great answer. I appreciate that. And the last question I have is, maybe it's here and I missed it. Can you give us a sense of the volume? We talk about this oil leak, and you know, images get created about massive plumes of oil dispersing. Are we not talking about a ton of oil? I didn't even know transformers had oil. So,
Yeah, most of them have like a mineral oil in them. This one was a larger transformer. It contained a larger amount of oil for some reason, just the design of that particular year.
Okay.
But we're estimating it was around 60 gallons.
Okay. And it's a mineral oil. It's it's a little less harmful to the environment, I think, based on that than, I guess, other types of petroleums.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for your efforts in cleaning it up, and I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, there's no questions. I'll entertain a motion, because even though the work has been done, and I know you're still ongoing, so it was a good need to do this emergency. Is there a motion to grant the permission that has been done and is continued to be worked on relative to the poles, Houghton Road temporary pole locations?
So moved.
Motion made by Selectman Semaglia. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by Selectman Champoux. All those in favor? 4, unanimous. All right, thank you.
Chairman, may I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just to try to understand the process here. Would we have to petition to remove them? Or
No.
No, okay. So we just keep up our due diligence with speaking with the customers, and that's all we need to do?
Yeah, and if there's any other question in detail, I would hope that you would contact the town manager,
No-
because
no
he's here every
further.
day. All right?
Just remove. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. Our next appointment, and correct me if I mispronounce the names, Isabel and Rafi Kaikian, Izzy's Coffee Shop, doing business as Honeydew Donuts, to request to obtain a common victual license for property located at 337 Main Street. Are the folks in the audience, would you come up here and take a seat? Thank you. Good evening. If you want to just tell the board exactly what you plan on doing, and that's why the whole purpose of the public hearing tonight.
Well, this is all new to us, so,
I hope it's not, because you're making donuts.
no, the coming here is no. But we have a restaurant, and we have seating area, and at this point, we don't have it. We're waiting for the permit to be granted. And that's the reason we're here, and I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I'll tell you on a personal note, I love Honeydew Donuts, and I hate to say it, I think they're a little better than Dunkin's. I shouldn't say that, but just want to let you know, and I don't need those extra calories, just to tell you, so.
We'd love to see you there, though.
Oh, you might. You open late at night?
Our donuts are fat-free.
We're opening
Okay.
until
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's no trans fat.
10.
Yeah.
It's right now until 9 o'clock,
All right,
but
very
I
good.
think once the seating is all
Situated
ready
and
situated
everything.
and done, people want us to open up more, so we'll see how it
Yeah,
goes.
very good. Best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, and if there's any questions, comments, or motion from the board, I'd entertain it at this point.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was approvals from both the Health Department as well as the Buildings Department, and for me, that was satisfactory. It looks like all of the documentation is in order. So, I have certainly no objection to it, and I wish them great success. May I ask you a question, however? And I hope that I can articulate this in a positive manner. When we learned, or I think many people in the community learned that you were coming to town and you were going to be in that spot, some of the questions that I heard was, "Oh, good, another donut shop." So I'm sure you're probably hearing similar types of questions. Is there any kind of an analysis of the market, of the community, of the I guess the need or the demand from the customer base?
I put this on the Facebook also. This town, it's been so great. They embraced us great. As we were doing the construction, we were in there. We had many people walk in saying, "I'm glad you guys are here."
Good.
And when you go on Facebook and stuff like that, you hear things like, "Oh, now that we have 9 donuts, why do we need another donut shop in this town?" But as we see face to face, we hear totally different story. So far, it's been great.
Good.
People loving it. We see the same face over and over again. And to be honest with you, they've been disappointing all week long because we have our regulars that take their newspaper, sit down, have their coffee in the morning. They couldn't do that all week. But, it is what it is.
I kind of blamed it on the floors.
But
"We're
we said we
just
have to seal the
resealing
floors for now, so-
I know it was a little bit of a white lie, but we love the idea when people come all the way from Billerica and
I mean, they're
Woburn
coming
that
from
they've heard
everywhere,
about
so
Honeydew.
it's been great.
I think the most idea people like is that, the coffee tastes great.
It's different.
There's no trans fat in our product. It's something very different. People, at one bite, they say, okay, this is very different.
And plus, we have a
haven't had
Mocha
this."
Madness, which no one else has it. We have a Red Bull smoothies.
I haven't heard the negativity yet.
So,
positive
been great.
all the way. It's just really been wonderful. They just hugged us. It's just great.
And the way we opened, we just opened. We said, here's Friday,
It was a
door
soft
open,
opening,
people come in, they
so-
say, you guys open? We're open. We haven't done our grand opening yet. We'll probably do that in middle of next month. And but it's been more than I expected.
Good.
More than I expected, so thank you.
I certainly wish you well.
Thank you.
Or you can look at tonight, this is no charge for that free commercial.
And I'm the baker, so I gotta get out of here, so sleep, so I gotta be there at 1:30 in the morning.
Time to make the donuts.
Time to make the donuts,
There's a
yes.
motion on the floor and there's a second. All those in favor? The vote's unanimous. Congratulations and
Thank you
welcome,
very
welcome
much.
to the town.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank
if I
you.
may.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes.
I'd like to just mention, Mr. Shampoo brought up a point that people are saying, why another donut shop? Why not? I mean, if people are going to go there and spend their money and spend it in town here, and they're going to employ people,
Yes.
why would somebody be upset if there's any other business that comes to town? As long as it's successful, it's a win-win for everybody. If you don't want to go to a certain establishment because it's another donut shop, then don't go. But I think it's too bad that you would even have that negative feeling, or if Mike's getting these negative questions, why another donut shop? But why not? It's just you're employing more people, and it's all good. It's called capitalism, and good luck.
Thank you, I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As do I.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, communications, Jeff.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is a memorandum to the board about the Houghton Road issue, which essentially was just informing the board about what you just heard relayed. So there's probably no need to go through that again. It was just highlighting the circumstances that RMLD was in and the process that we went through. Second memorandum is regarding local aid. The Commonwealth's fiscal year 2014 budget is expected to be finalized in the coming days. Of particular interest to the town was the maneuvering of the governor and legislature over the transportation improvement funding and impact that it had on local aid. The governor chose to veto $177 million in government aid, which the Massachusetts Municipal Association calculated to be about 19% decrease in local aid for cities and towns. The legislature stood by municipalities and overrode the governor's veto, restoring local aid to the proposed levels. Therefore, based upon the current status, I anticipate local aid revenues to be approximately $13.4 million, exceeding projections by an estimate of $182,000. Statutory assessments and charges will be approximately $776,000, which is an estimated $21,500 higher than projected. These amounts still may change slightly as the state finalizes its budget and the cherry sheet calculation.
I'd say that's good news.
Next on the agenda is the a memorandum regarding the Open Space Committee. We have a firm from Newburyport, the firm of Walker Brown Planners, has been engaged to assist the town with updating its open space and recreation plan. The firm has worked with staff from the Planning and Conservation Department to complete a draft for review and comment by the Open Space Committee. The committee is expected to have its first meeting later this month and have approximately 4 meetings. A representative from the Board of Selectmen is being asked to participate to serve as a liaison with this committee. So if there's a member on the board that would like to serve in that role, that would certainly be helpful.
I would like to. I certainly don't want to step on anyone else's toes at the table here. If there's someone inclined, certainly we can talk it out. But if that's not the
I was going
case,
to nominate Mr. Newhouse because he wasn't here.
right?
Oh,
I'm sure he'd appreciate that. No, indeed. I know any one of you would do a superb job. I know Ms. O'Connell is working on the N-Tile project, so perhaps that would be a little bit more volume than would be fair. So if you're receptive to it, I'd like to throw my name in the ring.
I don't have any objection at all. Is anybody else, any input to that at all? Or?
I can say that, as a part of the N-Tile committee, we were given a survey to complete. So we've made contributions to this endeavor through that. So I feel that I've been given an opportunity to kind of put in any comments, as have other committee members. So I think if Mr. Shampoo's volunteering and, everyone else feels that inclined to support that, do we need a motion to that effect for the purposes of this, or do you just take the name and that meets?
Maybe we just make a
Meets the
motion.
goal.
That means
Suggest a
official
motion,
vote,
yeah.
I would say, because
Okay.
we've done that in the past. In fact, we're going to talk about the MBTA in a moment anyway. So I don't see, there's no objection from anybody. And Judy, I can honestly say I've heard some folks saying you're doing a wonderful job on the Intel property. Keep it up. You're doing great. And
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion to appoint Selectman Shampoo to be the Wilmington Board of Selectmen liaison to the Open Space Committee. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Motion made by Selectman Somaglia, second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We have correspondence, a memorandum to the board. This is with respect to the slot parlor proposal for Tewksbury. As you know, and it's been covered in the news lately, Tewksbury is in discussions with Penn National Gaming from Wilmington, Pennsylvania, to run a $200 million slot parlor on a 30-acre parcel near Interstate 495 and Route 133. They will need to obtain town meeting approval with respect to zoning and also a project approval. They are one of, I believe, 3, actually there are 3 other communities in the running for one license. They include Leominster, Millbury, and Raynham. The state will issue one license, and for Tewksbury to be in the running, they need to go through this approval process. The town of Wilmington is going to be obtaining assistance from MAPC, which is the regional planning agency that we're a part of, to try to assess the potential impacts on the town of Wilmington. I also anticipate reaching out to my counterpart in Tewksbury to have some discussions with him about the proposal. So that's where that stands.
I'd just like to make a quick comment, Jeff. I'm really glad to see that we're on top of this. We've got to be very careful what's going on in the next community, because obviously traffic's going to be an issue and it's going to affect this community, so we really need to be careful in what we see and what we do on that area. Because I remember years ago, at the old John T. Berry School, they put those housing, and Reading got the full 10% allotment, and they used the MBTA, the train station down by Eli's, as one of the reasons why, and we receive all the traffic, and we didn't get one tax dollar from that. So obviously, I'm not saying, believe me, I'm not looking for tax dollars from this corporation, but we really need to monitor it carefully. Thank you.
We received correspondence from the Mass DOT. Secretary and CEO Richard Davey announced the release of $200 million in Chapter 90 funds, of which Wilmington will receive $750 $58,465. There's correspondence from Jeff Beckwith, the Executive Director from the MMA. He's asking, or was asking, the governor to release an additional $100 million in Chapter 90 funding to assist municipalities in dealing with road improvements. As noted in the previous correspondence, $200 million has been released. He points out that at the $200 million level, the state will have level funded this account for the third year in a row. He also notes that 90% of the roads in the state are local roads, and we should be receiving additional funding to address road improvements. We have correspondence from the MBTA Advisory Board. They are having an election to fill 2 seats. One is the Boston Metro, one is the Intercore Committee Subregion, a seat representing that group, and the second seat is representing the Metro West Subregion. These are for seats on the Boston Metro Metropolitan Planning Organization. That's a 22-member group. Wilmington's current representative is from Woburn, who sits in the North Suburban Planning Council. So it really doesn't affect, these spots don't affect the town per se. We have correspondence from Peter Kachugian from Middlesex Sheriff's Office, the sheriff there. He is announcing that there'll be a ceremony on Friday, August 16th, in which children from several area communities, including Wilmington, will graduate from the Youth Public Safety Academy. The week-long program teaches kids to identify and prevent cyberbullying, teaches internet safety, water skills, self-defense, healthy food choices, amongst other topics. So this event is occurring on the 16th, which is this Friday, and it is at 11 a.m. at the Middlesex Sheriff's Office Training Academy, located at 793 Boston Road, which is Route 3A in Billerica.
Just want to let you know that I RSVP'd to this, so I will be attending.
As will I, by the way.
Very good.
I would like to also say, my children who are now too old to attend this camp did attend it when they were of age, and I'm associated with a number of folks who've been to it, and they've all had very positive experiences. It's a very well-run camp. It's free for those that participate, and so it's always a delight to me, and I'm glad that Judy will be there as well to go to that graduation, because you can see that the kids are very proud of their achievements. So I'm glad that the sheriff has continued that program.
We have correspondence again from the MMA. This is with respect to their statewide legislative breakfasts. They have these regularly during the course of the year. This provides an opportunity for local government officials to meet with state representatives and discuss the issues that may be in play at that time, the priorities for communities. There are a series of sessions going on throughout the state. The one closest to Wilmington is occurring on September 27th, and it will be in Danvers.
FYI, I registered for that Danvers session this afternoon.
Then we have correspondence from Verizon, and this is with regard to their FiOS program. And they identify a number of program changes effective September 30th. The Sundance channel will be removed from the lineup for certain groups. This does not apply to subscribers of the FiOS TV Ultimate HD and FiOS TV Extreme HD packages. Additionally, there will be program changes occurring to the quote speed end quote channels 83 and 583, Fox Soccer, ESPN 3D, and GOL, which I assume is Golf TV. Customers will be notified of the changes via messages in their bills. Under board to consider, as you noted earlier, Mr. Chairman, there was previous correspondence that was provided to the board from the MBTA Advisory Board looking to confirm the representative from Wilmington who would serve on that board. Currently, you serve as the representative, and I just wanted to confirm what the board's intentions are going forward.
And I asked the town manager to put this on the agenda. I am technically the MBT Advisory Board member, and I know previous boards, no one showed an interest in doing it well before you folks were elected, so I decided to do it, and I went to the first couple of meetings. The meetings were on Fridays, very difficult for me to attend. However, I've always returned phone calls. I received, I think, 2 phone calls over all those years. One of them was a resident that was upset in North Wilmington because the train stopped too far. I was able to call Mr. Regan, talk to him about it. He contacted that individual. So I can show due diligence returning calls. But physically, I cannot be in Boston on Fridays. And I asked the manager to put this on. So if there's anybody on the board that's interested being the MBT Advisory Board member, I'd entertain that to anybody on the board, or if you want to table it, to talk to Mr. Newhouse at the next meeting. It's just that it's very, and I said early on, the meetings are on Fridays, and very difficult for me to make those meetings, and I made that really clear years ago. But I just want to give someone an opportunity to serve in that capacity if they have more free time on Friday. Friday's just too difficult for me to do things because of my business. That's the only reason, Friday. I kind of like it when they have retirement parties on other days. That's the problem, Friday. But I went to a couple of chiefs, former chiefs of police on Friday. I've done that, but I just thought I'd put that out, and thank you, Mr. Manager. So it's up to debate. If anyone's interested in that, that would be wonderful.
Is there another designee? Does it have to be someone from the Board of Selectmen? I don't particularly have a strong desire, but I do feel like it would be advantageous to have eyes and ears and a mouth present at these meetings representing Wilmington. But I'm reading here to see if there's language that says, could we designate another member, either from Town Hall or another resident of the community, as our designee?
The few meetings that I did attend several years ago, and I believe I'm 100% correct, it doesn't have to be a member of the Board of Selectmen. We could designate a member of the planning board or another individual to be our representative. So it's not carved in stone. It has to be a member of the Board of Selectmen. I mean, obviously, it would be nice to have somebody from the board. However, it's not necessary. And there are other people that I've met over the years. I remember Mayor Capiano, who's now the congressman. He was the representative on the MBTA relative to years ago. So it's not restricted to boards of selectmen. If maybe what we need to do is reach out to other individuals if they show an interest, and then the board would vote to nominate that person to be its designee. You want to double check that, Jeff? I would recommend
Yeah,
that.
I would.
I'm 100% certain, the individuals I did meet, they weren't necessarily city councilors or members of boards of selectmen.
You're just looking at the memo, it does, the correspondence here from the MBTA, it does reference, this is all mailings from the advisory board addressed to both the chief elected official and to your designee. It seems to suggest we want to keep the records current for our mailings, so please notify the advisory board of your current chair, the Board of Selectmen, or mayor. Seems to suggest that it would be elected officials, but there may be an opportunity for someone other than an elected official to serve as the representative. I can check.
Yeah, let me do that. We can table for the next meeting. And
Okay.
In addition with that, is there a way to get a little bit more detail on the scope of the assignment, meaning is it every Friday, and how long are the meetings, and where are they located? So have a little bit more insight as to what you're essentially
Okay.
involving yourself.
it's usually the transportation building. And I'll be honest, I'm not just saying it. They'd only send out a notice. I mean, Jeff, they send the notice to the town hall, and then 2 days later, the meeting's on Friday. I mean, they really don't give you a big notice. And I'm not just saying that. It's pretty accurate. It's
Let me get
always on a
some
Friday, just to let you know.
additional information on the time commitment required, and I think it's probably similar to any number of these boards. I remember years ago I served on the MWRA advisory board, and their basic intent was to monitor the activities of the MWRA. They get involved in reviewing the budgets, which I assume is similar with the MBTA, where they monitor the spending and the budgets and that kind of activity. Okay.
All right, very good.
Also, under board to consider, there is a document here associated with the prior conversation that the chairman referenced, which was the potential acquisition of property. As part of that process, the Board of Selectmen, in order to comply with the public procurement law, is being asked to consider a determination of uniqueness, which essentially would indicate that the property that it was the subject of the executive session and that may be acquired, there needs to be determination that this property has unique characteristics that make it impractical to go through a formal bid process. So the board is asked to consider taking a vote this evening to issue a determination of uniqueness relative to 7.86 acres of property off of Glen Road and Main Street in Wilmington, which is currently owned by the Archdiocese of Boston.
So is there a motion to sign the document as described by the town manager?
So moved.
Motion made by
Second.
Selectman Somaglia, second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? And it's 4-0 unanimous. Thank you.
Two documents. We have a memorandum from the police chief. This is with respect to an event that's being scheduled for September 7th. The men and women of the Wilmington Public Safety Building, Wilmington Police Department, Wilmington Fire Department, Wilmington Public Safety Dispatch, and the families and friends of Anthony Namo will be joining with the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute National Marrow Donor Registration in the Boston Children's Hospital the Boston Children's Hospital Blood Mobile to host a bone marrow registration and blood drive on Saturday, September 7th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Wilmington Public Safety Building. The blood drive and bone marrow registry are being held in support of 10-year-old Anthony Namo, who is currently being treated for pediatric Philadelphia-positive acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Anthony is the older brother of Dominic and son of Michael and Dawn Namo of Wilmington. He is a fourth-grade student of the North Intermediate School. Anthony and his family hope through this event they can help bring awareness of the need to register in the National Bone Marrow Registry and to be able to replenish the blood supply he has been fortunate to have been made available to him during his treatment and care. The request for use of Rotary Park is so that the community can come together to show their support to Anthony and his family and to donate or register for the National Registry. While the drive is underway, we know many of the families with children will be utilizing the playground, and we hope to offer some activities. Currently, a request has been made to the Wilmington High School Band, Miss Barbara Meddy, to learn if any of the students would like to share their love of music. We are awaiting a response. In addition, we have requested K-9 Officer Eric Palmer and his partner Riddick to provide a demonstration. Invites have also been extended to the mascots of the local sports teams. With the help of our many volunteers, we will be certain to ensure the park is well cared for and cleaned upon completion of the day's activities. We respectfully request the use of Rotary Park for the purposes stated above.
So is there a motion to approve that was read by the town manager?
I would certainly approve this wholeheartedly. I just wanted to make a comment. This is another example of the police department in particular and the community as a whole stepping up to assist one of its own families. I happen to know the family personally, graduated with high school with both of them. They're a wonderful family and certainly going through a very difficult time, and this is another example of the community stepping forward, specifically the police department and fire department and public safety overall. They've done this before for some of their own officers and people in need, so I think I certainly would support this, and I hope and expect that everyone else on the board would as well. In addition to it, I just want to point this out, just because of scheduling. It doesn't talk about a rain date possibility. I don't know if that's relevant, especially since it's outdoors. If they need some sort of a rain date, hypothetically, we don't meet again until, I believe, after the date. So is there any way to put in some sort of consideration that if they need a rain date, that we can cover them through this motion?
Incorporate in the motion, we'll leave it up to the town manager to give a rain date if necessary for it.
Does that make sense to do that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Advisable.
Yeah.
So I would like to make the motion with also language covering them for a rain date if they need it, at the discretion and direction of the town manager and other supporting personnel, i.e. police chief, fire chief.
Sounds good to me.
Good
Is
thought.
there a second?
Second.
Second by Selectman Shampoo. All those in favor? Unanimous, and hopefully there will be a positive result.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Under board to consider, we have correspondence from the Historical Commission. This is addressed to the board. Wilmington Historical Commission and the Farmers Market have collaborated and organized an old-fashioned car show. The show will be held on September 15, 2013, at the site of the old Swain School and during the farmers market hours. Both organizations are very excited about the event. The initial car show was organized as part of the town's celebration of its 275th anniversary. A second show was organized in conjunction with the farmers market in 2010 as a fundraiser for the Butters Farmhouse. Both events were very successful. This time around, however, the commission is not intending to raise money, but instead awareness of the recent improvements made to the Butters Farmhouse. The commission will also make available for sale Julie Fennell's Wilmington Remembers 2011 and its other publications and items. General information about the commission will also be available. The cars will be on display in the rear parking lot of the former Swain School, thereby leaving the side parking lot open and available for general parking. If additional parking is needed, visitors will be directed to the lot behind the Bazell Senior Center. We anticipate approximately 50 cars will be on display. No refreshments will be provided. Trash receptacles are available in around the farmers market vendors, therefore no additional receptacles are necessary. If it rains, the organizers have agreed to run the event the following week, Saturday, September 22nd, 2013. I will attend the Selectmen's meeting on August 12th to address any questions or concerns. However, due to another commitment that evening, I cannot arrive prior to 8 o'clock. The Commission is grateful for your consideration and support, and this is signed Kathleen Reynolds, Chairperson of the Historical Commission.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions, comments, or motions?
There is no issues with scheduling, obviously. It's the farmers market.
Right, it's done in collaboration, really.
Then I make the motion that we grant the request.
Is there a second?
Second?
The motion made and second. Motion made by Selectman Somaglia, second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? It's unanimous, 4-0. Thank you.
We have correspondence from Sharon Georgetown Clerk with respect to an election worker. Marilyn West, a longtime election worker, was planning to retire as an election worker, and her name was omitted from the list put forth to the Board of Selectmen. Ms. West changed her mind and would like to work on as a needed an as-needed basis. Please return to the election worker status. So she's basically recommending that Ms. West be reappointed as an election worker.
No objection. I would make the motion that Marilyn West be returned as an approved election worker status.
Second?
Second. Motion made by Selectman Shampoo, second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Correspondence from WCTV. Dear members of the Board of Selectmen, Wilmington Community TV is celebrating its 26th anniversary this year. We are proud to have broadcast the Selectmen and school committee meetings and the annual town meetings to the people of Wilmington for the past 26 years. We have also had the privilege of broadcasting town and school events such as local sports, high school graduations, parades, the 4th of July events, candidates' nights, and many others. We offer many great locally produced programs on our 3 PEG media channels. We rely on the dedicated volunteers who are the key to our success. 21 of our programs are created and hosted by local volunteers. We are proud to have served the Wilmington community since 1987 and look forward to our continued association in the future. We would appreciate the board's permission to use the portion of Waltham Street in front of the WCTV offices from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on August 25th for a celebration event. The public is invited to the event, which will include DJ, face painting, and hands-on experience at high railers, where people of all ages are encouraged to run the trains, limo rides, and from the train club, a spectacular magician, and much more. The event will be open to all Wilmington residents, friends, and family. All members of the board are welcome and encouraged to attend our event. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Signed, Sandra Curtin, Executive Director at WCTV.
Very good. Is there any questions, comments, or motions?
This is
I'll
a
make a
fun
motion to
event.
grant the request.
All right, motion made by Selectman Semaglia. Is there a second?
Second.
by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
And the final item under board to consider is a request from Mark Frugeau. He addresses this correspondence to me. Troop 136 requests the use of the Old Swain School site for a yard sale fundraiser for the Scouts on Saturday, September 7, 2013, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Rain date would be September 21 during the same times. The site will be completely cleaned by the end of the event. Feel free to contact me with any questions. And he references his address and phone number. Thank you for your consideration, Mark Frugeau, Scoutmaster, Troop 136.
Very good. Is there a motion?
Are there any concerns about the location and date that we're aware of?
No.
All right.
Is that, so they have two, that's the same date as the other event that's happening, correct?
Which?
The 7th would be the same date as the
Bone marrow.
Bone marrow, yes.
Okay.
What do you think? Maybe not a bad thing, more people.
Yeah.
I think it's great as long as, you have the,
Yeah.
the supporting structure if there's police necessary and whatnot, I mean, I don't have an issue with it. I just making
Yeah.
making an observation more so than having an issue.
More people in town.
I'm sorry, Scoop.
Yeah, more people in town.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I think
Yeah.
participation is great,
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be done right. All right, good. Is there a motion to grant the request?
So moved.
Motion made by
Second.
Selectman Shampoo, second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Public comments. I see there's no public comments. I'll go new business and committee reports. I'll start with this side of the table. Mr. Shampoo, anybody?
Just real briefly, I want to just say that I'm impressed with, I guess, Don and Jamie, DPW, the whole, all the staff and all the people that have been doing the work with the road crews. I know that there's been a lot of repaving projects that have either begun, have been completed, or are about to begin. A lot of work has gotten done, and I feel like maybe they're a little bit ahead of schedule. And in fact, I think I saw a report from Jamie that said that he's very confident and very pleased with the performance. And maybe it's the somewhat weather related, but it seems like we're getting a lot of work done out there on the road. So I want to commend all of the DPW people that have been doing that. And the only other thing I want to say is today is August 12th, right? Am I right? Today's August 12th, and the next time we meet will be after the children have gone back to school. So I just want to echo this, and hopefully if this is being rebroadcast on WCTV, people will be conscious of the fact that as of August 27th, the buses will be out there again, the kids will be waiting on the corners, and we want to be a little extra safe as we drive to and from our work or our other destinations. Just be cautious. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shampoo. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, we also had received some additional correspondence in our package regarding some incidents that took place at the school site. Obviously, I'm respectful of other parties that are doing their job, whether it's the town administration, the police department, the construction workers on site. Obviously, it details here to us some correspondence that went back and forth, and I was a little perplexed in reading it. It appears that, we've had some trespassing incidents here, and the town has had to take some action in terms of speaking with various parties and doing an investigation. I just wanted to clarify something, if I may. There was some correspondence that had come out from the attorney for Mr. O'Reilly that indicates that on July 25th or in and around that there was, a loud explosion that had taken place, and that later on in the letter corresponds to the fact that as a result of that, he's indicating in and around July 25th, but that Mr. O'Reilly entered the property on July 20th at 2 a.m. in the morning, which I found a little perplexing because that's 5 days before the event appears to have taken place, which corresponds to this police report. I don't know if there just may be a typo here, but it further on goes into talking about some concerns that he has with the site, but it indicated that there was a trespassing factor here, and then goes on to detailing that the Wilmington Police Department had a conversation with Mr. O'Reilly, and he indicated he was on the property, and also, too, in this report, it indicates that we have surveillance camera footage that shows that as well. And then further on, there's a demand here to compensate Mr. O'Reilly in the amount of $250,000. Am I reading all of this correctly?
Judy, I was going to say the same. I'm totally agreeing with you. I was going to ask the manager for the same thing, a status report on Mr. O'Reilly relative to the trespass, and I think what you said is very appropriate. I totally agree.
As I said, I'm not trying to micromanage it, but it's in our packet, and I'm, so it's essentially there was a trespassing violation that took place. You also followed on, Jeff, and were very clear from your perspective as the town manager that there were certainly postings that were there that indicated that you are not to enter the site without checking in with the office. It's a locked, secure environment. There's hours of operation. If people have questions, they should come to the town hall, and that you, in a very friendly manner, indicated that people should not be trespassing, and certainly Wilmington Police did their due diligence in their efforts to investigate it and to take the proper steps to notify anyone that should be going on to the site when they shouldn't be there, that is not permitted. I'd like to just get an idea that I'm reading this correctly, one, and two, what are the steps to respond to a demand for $250,000, and who has ownership for responding to this demand? And certainly, I'm just shocked at what I'm reading here. I just want to do a sanity check, because I'm...
Well, first of all, you are correct that that Mr. O'Reilly did access the high school property, a section of property off of Wildwood Street next to his home. That property is all fenced off, and as you pointed out and is noted, has signage in very obvious places indicating that anybody seeking to enter the property needs to check in. It is a construction site, so there are safety issues there. Certainly the contractor and the CM at risk are very conscious of liability issues that may be associated with people gaining unauthorized access to the property. Also, it should be noted that Mr. O'Reilly expressed some concern early on about potential damage to his own property that might be done as a result of the construction activities. So we went to great pains to request or suggest to him that if he was concerned and wanted to authorize a representative from the town to inspect his property, to assess its current condition, and establish that kind of baseline. We were willing to do that at the town's cost, and that clearly recognized, that he has private property, and we were not looking to trespass on his property, it's kind of interesting to me that while we're taking great pains to do that, he doesn't seem to have any concern whatsoever about trespassing on a construction site. I think the police responded appropriately in terms of Officer Stickney's speaking with Mr. O'Reilly. It was done in a reasoned tone, certainly a non-threatening tone, to indicate that this activity was inappropriate. My letter was structured in a similar fashion to point out that in spite of the fact that he may have a legal claim against the town and an appeal, that doesn't give him the right to trespass on town property. So hopefully the message is clear that that the property is a construction zone, and people who are seeking to have access to the property need to check in first.
So in terms of receiving the demand for $250,000, do we have the legal responsibility to respond to a demand letter as such?
Yes. So when this was received, it was sent to town council. Also, given the fact that there is a specific demand amount, we will be, or it has been sent to our insurance carrier. And at this point, we'll be waiting to determine whether counsel from our insurance carrier will take up this claim or whether it will be town council. But one or the other will respond appropriately.
So I'm a layman, let me get this straight. We got signs posted, no trespassing. Fenced-in area construction site. You can see the sign is clear as day. Mr. O'Reilly trespasses onto the property, and we're getting sued for $250,000. That makes a lot of sense. I'm a layman. Thank you.
Okay.
I get, just talking about the high school project and what's going on there, and a lot of stuff is happening. And I remember a few months back, a gentleman come in talking, requesting that we use all the employees of the unions be from Wilmington. And I remember distinctly thinking, well, I'd rather have the most qualified, and I still feel that way. But it was brought to my attention by a couple of employees of the union that if we could put in a word, I'm not even sure what they wanted me to do as far as putting in a word. Can we request through Gilbane that maybe if the Wilmington residents are qualified and dues-paying members of the union or whatever they are qualified to do, run the equipment or whatever their job is, that maybe they can get a fair shake, if you will, to be able to stay in the, I'm not even sure if we could do that, if we could ask another contractor or a general contractor who to put on a job or not.
I had heard, and this is now just, conjecture, I had heard that North Reading had put something in place, a document or some vote was taken, and there was a requirement put upon Gilbane, who's working up at North Reading, that wherever possible, and I don't have the language right, so I don't want to overstate it, but they had some document in place that basically guided Gilbane to, in as much as possible, use local or bring local employees into that project, again, wherever possible, wherever qualified, et cetera. But it wasn't I don't believe that it was a hard and fast requirement that it be, universally applied to all the trades and all of the entire suite of staff. It's just sort of a nod towards, if we have guys in town, we ought to try to employ, and I shouldn't say guys, we have individuals in town that have a skill set that could be used locally. We'd love to have them on the job. I don't know how to articulate that too, but I support it, Lou.
It's a good point that Lou brings up. I totally support what he does. If we can do it, that's another matter.
Right.
But I think it's a great idea if we could put some Wilmington folks who have the proper credentials and actually build something in their own community, and their kids are eventually going to go to that school. But, that's out of our control. If there's something we can do about it, that would be wonderful. But just thought we passed that on.
Yeah, it certainly can.
Good point.
Certainly can talk to Mike Marcella, who's the primary point person at Gilbane, in terms of the hiring they do. I don't think there's any ability for the town to certainly require that Wilmington individuals be hired. I know that when the school in Billerica was being constructed, there was some type of attempt on the part of the town to require local hires, and it was contested by one of the other bidders at the time on the project, and ultimately the town didn't prevail on that situation. So there's a number of issues that come into play, but they may even, as a matter of course, if people are qualified from Wilmington, hire them. I know there's an individual, at least one individual out there that's from Wilmington, because when I was out on the site probably a couple of months ago, I happened to run into him, and his son and my son both went to the same daycare in Wilmington. Just so, I mean, there are people from Wilmington on the project. I don't know how many, but I can certainly speak with Mike
I know
on
there's at
that.
least 3.
People talk to me as well, but
Okay.
good point, Lou.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? We're all set? How about Jeff? Can we go to important dates, please? Thank you.
Important dates, Sundays through September 29th, Farmers Market, Town Common Parking Lot, 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. August 15th, High School Building Committee, Town Hall, Room 9, 6:30 p.m. August 27th, school opens, grades 1 through 12. September 2nd, Labor Day, town offices are closed. September 3rd, first day of kindergarten. September 4th, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. September 7th, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. September 7th, library resumes Saturday schedule, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. September 8th, Harnden Tavern Open House, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. September 9th, Board of Selectmen meeting, Town Hall, Room 9, 7 p.m. September 22nd, Wilmington's 9th Annual Half Marathon and 5K Run or Walk.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Selectman Somaglia, motion made by Selectman Somaglia, second by Selectman O'Connell. All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Have a nice night.